old hat. That's the right phrase, right? Old hat, it becomes old hat.
Right.
It becomes easy.
On the PC, you just click on got it. Got it. Yeah.
Yeah, give me 1 second. And of course, sometimes, we do mess up, and that's okay, because we are human, still
Right.
having the human experience. Sometimes stuff happens.
I'm lucky when I have my Glyph show, Zoom show once a month. It's a Zoom. I have a couple people that are really, really a lot better than me, and they save the day. They remind me, "Are you going to start the video?"
Yes, exactly.
Oh yeah.
So I'm going to hit record here. Give me 1 second here, because we are
Okay.
live.
Well,
Right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Lara Canfield Show, the Awaken to Happiness Now Global Series. Thank you so much for being here with us today. And like always, it is my deepest wish, desire, and intention to support you in your growth, in your evolution, in you being happy and thriving in your life. And I do that by bringing forward these wonderful speakers and guests who have such wonderful wisdom, teachings, processes, energy healing, etc. And so if you are watching live or on the replay, please do subscribe to the YouTube channel and join us, regularly, usually Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, but it could be other days as well. So please hit that bell notification, the bell thing, so that you'll be notified of all the new shows, and watch all the replays that you may have missed as well. So today, like I said, my good friend, Dr.Jean Logan is here with us, and we're going to be talking about how you were born for this time. What does that mean? We're going to talk about that. How to uncover your purpose. We're going to talk a little bit about that, learn about that. We're going to talk about what is blocking your abundance. Where is your tribe, right? You might be asking, where is my tribe? Letting go of what is holding you back with ease, and that you can have it all that and so much more. We're going to be talking about the glyphs, of course. And for those of you who do not know Dr. Jean, she's been with us many, many times. We love having her on the show. We're so honored that she comes and joins us and shares the information, teachings, and wisdom about the glyphs. Like I said, she is an Earth Ambassador, an ordained minister. She has a doctorate in nutritional healing and has an extensive knowledge of many types of energy healing modalities. As a conscious channel, Jean receives a language of light in the form of symbols and glyphs that are empowered by electronic impulses from the central sun. She's the author of Unlocking the Power of Glyphs, Sacred Symbols of Light, Symbols of the Dawn, Sacred Symbols of the New Age, and Sacred Symbols Healing Cards, and I'm sure many other things. We're going to talk about that. And her books are now in over 100 countries, with profits going to provide services to indigenous children. So we are so honored to have you back with us, Dr. Jean, and we're excited. We're going to be taking live caller questions, of course. So if you are live here on Zoom with us, please do raise your hand, or you can type your question in the chat. So everyone, please join me in welcoming Dr. Jean back to the show. Welcome, Dr. Jean.
Thank you, Lara. Oh, it's always a delight. We have so much fun. We do. It's just fun.
Yes, absolutely, we do. Yes, and we always learn so much too. And that's one of the things I like about it when you come on to the show, because I always learn something new that I hadn't known before, a new way of using the glyphs, or a new a glyph that we hadn't talked about before and how to use it, kind of thing. So there's always something that we can pick up from these calls. So first of all, I know you've been really busy lately, Dr. Jean. So is there anything new and exciting that you wanted to share with us? I saw something in one of your emails about tattoos.
Right. We have removable tattoos. I did that. People have been asking for years, and I went ahead and did that. Just the emotional healing ones for now, because I thought that would be good for children, especially. But I'd also get a lot out of it too. And as a matter of fact, I did one had one made for detox, and I put it under my kidney and under my liver. And I thought, well, that's an easy way. What I tell people for detoxing is a piece of tape with all the glyphs, but the tattoos are easier. Yeah, it's an interesting, and it's fun.
Awesome. And that's what it's about.
You don't have to live with it the rest of your life.
That's true. They're removable, or they come off by themselves. And with healing, it's not supposed to be stressful or hard, like it's supposed to be
Right.
easy and fun and keeping our
Right.
intentions light, right? So today we're talking about how you were born for this time. So what does that mean that you were born for this time?
Well, every one of us, and I bet I'm talking to a whole bunch of old souls there.
Mm-hmm.
We all planned when before we came in, before we reincarnated here, we had a choice about what we were doing, and we want to come now because this is the exciting time, even though things are crazy. They're really crazy right now. But nevertheless, we came for this time because this is a big shift is going on. And so we thought, yeah, I'm in. And we may have thought lifetimes ago, never, never, never again. But when we get up there, we said, okay, let's go. So you agreed, you wanted, you volunteered. Every one of you volunteered.
Yeah. I mean, I've even said in this lifetime, never again. This is it. No more. It's like, why? What am I? Am I crazy? Why do I keep coming back? Let's don't know. All right. So yeah. So, the thing is that we have to understand and we have to get that we truly do choose to be here. We truly chose to be here at this time, right? It's not by happenstance. It's not because the universe is cursing us in some way. No, we chose to be here so we can have different experiences, right?
Right. Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
And when we get that, like it empowers us, instead of us feeling like a victim or we have control, we not have control, but we have a little bit of a semblance of we think of control, right? So, and there's always a reason for why we're here, right? So some of us it's a learning experience, some of us it's a healing experience, right? But there's a reason why we're all here.
For me, it was a job. They said, okay, we got a job for you down there. and they had already this idea of the glyphs was already, I don't know if I volunteered or whether they volunteered me. I'm not sure which it was.
But you said yes. So even if they volunteered you, you said yes.
Yes. But I'll tell you what it is. I have a job. I have a really great job. I mean, I feel like I'm doing something to help humanity. And that is the greatest. I mean, 20, 25 years ago, I would never have dreamed. And I can remember wondering what my purpose was. And I was such a neurotic mess that I just, so but now I know why I'm here. And that is the greatest feeling in the world. Absolutely. When you got a job and they, absolutely.
Yeah. And so that's a great question for a lot of people. How can we uncover our purpose? Because some people don't know why they're here. And so they don't know what their job is. And a job doesn't always have to mean something big. It can mean being a great mother to your children. It could mean, being a wife. It could mean whatever, but it doesn't have to be always something big. But we do want to know, like there has to be a reason, right? So that reason, that purpose, how can we uncover that?
Well, with the glyphs, and I've told this story many times about how I was very fearful. I was a mousy recluse. I mean, I really was afraid of everything. And when I was first guided to create the glyphs, I realized that what started was I was a seeker. And so in meditation one time, I saw some script on a blackboard and I felt that was telling me to try guided writing. And so I did with a lot of trial and error, and finally something came through. And so then I was able to speak with my guides and so forth. And then when I saw a glyph that came in on an email, I was really fascinated. And I think I was probably interested in it long before, because I have clothing that is pretty old and it's got glyphs all over it. But that really fascinated me. And it said that this glyph could remove bacteria and viruses that hold fear in us. And that was, I cut the glyph out, I printed it, I cut it out, and it had such a tremendous reaction. And so I asked my guides, how does anybody put that much energy in a drawing on a piece of paper? I said, tell me how to do that. And they did. And they instructed me on how to create a glyph. And the first one I created was to remove fear. And how it is, we have so much emotional baggage. I had no clue why I was here. And it's like that big red onion. And deep down inside is the real you. But before you can get to the real you, you have to remove a lot of layers. Mm-hmm. And this is all the emotional. And the first book that I wrote was Unlocking the Power of Glyphs. And it has all of the emotional healing glyphs. The one to remove fear, sadness, anger, guilt, you name it. I just went through every thing I could think of, and I would create one glyph, and each time I would have such a tremendous reaction. I would put it on my solar plexus, and I could feel stuff drawing out of me. And what I'm given to understand is as it pulls out this emotional issues, it brings in light. So, and I even have people say, you look lighter. And I thought, well, that's interesting. And so that's what it took, is I kept using them over and over again and not knowing what I felt. I was just doing it for me. But the more I removed, the more layers that I removed, it's like slowly the light was coming in. And then at first it's like you're a flower that you don't even know what color you are. And then slowly you open up. And that was what it was for me. Slowly I was getting a little bit more courage. And it just unveiled itself. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I try to tell people and I tell their group, you are never done working on removing the emotional issues, because we've had hundreds of past lives. I mean, we may have burned at the stake, or we may have been the one lighting the fires. So, and we don't know, is that the fear or is that the guilt? It's just, it goes on and on. Mm-hmm. So it's not just this lifetime, it's many lifetimes. And the more I used them, the better I felt. And even after 12, 13 years, I could take a whole half page of the one to remove fear and feel stuff coming out of my abdomen and out of my legs. And I thought, when does it ever end? And for me, it really hasn't. But then I had a lot of fear. I mean, I had it all as far as the baggage, you name it. I had a lot of emotional baggage. So then as I got feeling better, all of a sudden it's like, this is why I came here. I had a reading by Judith Moore. She was the one who created the first glyph to remove the parasite that held fear in us. And she said, this is why you came here. She said, you came here to bring in this language of light. And I thought, okay, at the time I kind of put that on the shelf, but as time went by, and it took me about 3 or 4 years of working with it before I realized this is why I'm here.
I just have to reiterate a few points that you've made, Jean. And one of them is that, when you first started with the automatic writing or the channeled writing, you said you did, you went through a period of trial and error until, it clicked, right? So it's not like you did it once and said, okay, this doesn't work for me. You kept going. And same thing with the glyphs. You kept using them for yourself, until, they worked for you. And even still, you even asked your guides when you got that first glyph, okay, what can I do with this? How can I use this? Right. And so, for me, that is so important because number one, it wasn't like in an instant. Sometimes things take time, but you were trusting your intuition that you were getting, and you were calling on your guides and talking to them and asking them questions, etc. And you kept going, you kept using them. And I'm saying this for everybody because I know sometimes we could just get so impatient. It's like, we want it done today, right? And, like when you're talking to us now, I can't imagine that you're any mousy, whatever you said you were. I cannot even imagine that, right? Because, you seem very confident and sure of yourself, and you're very well-spoken and eloquent. So I was like, I don't know what she's talking about, right? But that's the power of your healing and the work that you've done.
Right. And I was the kind of people could walk all over me. I mean, I didn't stand up and speak. One of the things at one point, I was standing in the kitchen and I thought, I wonder if God will speak to me. And I heard very clearly, well, yes, I'll speak to you. And so I got a very simple reading, like a third grader, which is where I was. And it said, you and I are one, you and I are one with all things. And then it went on to say, I speak to you in many ways and so forth. But in there it said, you please understand, you must speak out. And I think that message is for everybody. You must speak out. You cannot learn if you do not speak out. And when you speak out, others will learn. And so that was a really important message. And it kind of pushed me. I had to be kind of prodded a lot. I needed a lot of reassurances.
I hear you. I was the same way, right? So I used to never I never used to talk. I never used to like raise my hand, never said anything. I was a wildflower. I used to stutter a lot when I was younger. I had no confidence whatsoever, especially after my first marriage. I had absolutely no confidence whatsoever. So it was like, so I totally get it, right? But it's about, look at where we are now.
Right. Yeah, look where we are. Yeah. Look,
we've done the work over
Dad, we're there
over a period of time, right? So
even if my kids don't understand, that's okay.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like our life is our life. It's not for anybody else to understand other than for us. Right. My kids, like they're still learning things about me before I was a mom, right? Or before I married their dad, kind of things. Like, Mom, really? It's like, yeah. It's like, I didn't know that. It's like, well, why would it come up? It's like, why would I talk about something like, so it's like, we've all had, really different, varied lives and experiences, right? But they have made us who we are today, right? So all my different experiences, all the heartache and pain and whatever, it has brought me to where I am now, right? And so we have to look at the whole journey, right? And give ourselves a pat on the back, because like, look how far we've come, from where we used to be to where we are now. I'm proud of myself for how far I've come, right? And so I just want everyone to just take a moment, take a deep breath, and pat yourself on the back or on your shoulders, whatever you can. Look how far you've come, right? And we've all done the work. We're all continuing to do the work, and we will continue to do the work, right? And
the journey's never over, right?
The journey's never over. Not even when you die, the journey's not over. Okay, so
on to the next
adventure, right? So if we can use tools and support and resources like you're sharing and teaching us about, then that can help us to make our lives, better, be less stressful, have that support, right? Because like you said, these glyphs that you shared with us, they come direct from source. The energy comes direct from source. The wisdom comes direct from source. And we are always connected to source, and we're always supported by source, but we forget.
Right. I think that's why so many people will say, I knew as soon as I heard you speak, I knew this was for me. That's really great. Some people, one thing I try to tell people is that the emotional issues are very important for healing. I mean, some people want to buy a book to heal their dad or to heal their dog, and there's nothing wrong with that. But the emotional issues, and even with pets, sometimes your emotional issues can be affecting your pets. So, and with your children, whatever it is, you need to be working on them too. You need to be working on the emotional healing. When we are healed, our children receive a certain amount of healing. Even our ancestors can receive a certain amount of healing.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's the thing, like when we are doing the healing work, it's not just for ourselves, right? It's for our children, it's for our ancestors, it's for our lineage, and it is for the collective, right? So, it helps everyone. And the thing is, sometimes we don't see the effect of our healing until after the fact, and until much later. I mean, like if I look at who I am now and who I was 30 years ago, I was like, oh my God, it's thank God I'm not that same person, right? But, yes, we have experiences. Yes, we have challenges. We all have challenges right now. Don't get me wrong. I have challenges, as you all know. You all have challenges, but we have
Oh, yeah.
tools and support to help us, right? So yes, the glyphs that Dr. Jean is going to talk about a little bit more, those can help us. That connection to source is also going to help you. And just knowing that you are supported and having a community like ours where you can reach out and connect with others and receive healing and receive wisdom, that's going to also help you to, get past some of those emotional triggers and patterns that you've been carrying for so long, right?
Right. So as I went on, like I said, the first book was removing all the emotional issues. And then in the second book, it was more physical things. And sometimes with the physical things, if it's what I've learned over time is we can do tremendous things. Like I was guided to create a glyph for a dog of mine that had she would get car sick every time we would go somewhere. And after trial and error, sometimes I would try to create my own glyphs. And finally I would ask Source and I'd say, please help me heal this dog. And so I was told she had brain damage and from a starvation and dehydration. And I was told how to write that glyph. And within a month, she was completely healed, never got sick again. We put it on her little crown chakra. We put it on right on the dog. On your pets, you can put it, if it's a short-haired animal, like a dog, you can put the glyphs right on the dog. But sometimes, like one woman, she said her dog had tremors so bad she had to use a surrogate. And by a surrogate, that's like when you take a page and you have the glyphs, the name of the person that you're healing, then the glyphs, and then you send that energy with your mind. And the success depends on, with a surrogate, your belief and your intentions. Mm-hmm. You have to send that energy. If you say, well, I hope it works, that's weakens it. You just say, this will work. I'm sending this energy now. Just like praying for someone. If you think, well, why bother? It's not going to work. Well, I guess it won't if you don't believe in it. So you have to believe in your own power for these things. But anyway, so that glyph, I went on, I realized after she was healed that I could write a glyph that would heal other parts of the brain. And so I'd look at a drawing of the brain and I would each glyph has a programming statement. And that's what's in that, when we have the second, when people want to get the consultation and the programming statements, the programming statement is when we tell the glyph what it's supposed to do. In the book, it tells you how to use it and some things about it, but in the programming statement, sometimes the programming statement, like that particular one, was over a page of writing, telling the glyph, look at this part of the brain. And if this, then this, and then look at the next part of the brain, and so forth. And that one has been so successful. And it helps. There's a lot of problems like stroke. People say, what can I do for somebody with a stroke? Okay, I tell them, first of all, one of the things I tell them is for any type of mental injury, always remove toxic vaccinations. And when I say toxic vaccinations, a lot of people think, well, I needed this one. I don't want to, well, it will only remove the toxic matter. Then heal the damaged brain. Then put a glyph on to remove the toxic matter in the brain, like heavy metals and chemicals, the Roundup and the formaldehyde and stuff, that you take that out of the brain. So we can heal a lot of problems like stroke, dementia, Alzheimer's. The glyphs can be used for a multitude of helping with serious problems and Parkinson's disease. But again, we need to encourage people, if they're using it or you're using it on someone else, you need to work on that emotional issue too, because everything, when you draw some illness into your life, there is some emotion behind it. Mm-hmm. That's important to know. A good one would be high blood pressure. The emotion behind high blood pressure would be fear and anger. It's like you've got a kettle cooking on the stove. and is bubbling, and you've got a pressure cooker. And that's what high blood pressure is. Those fears and resentments are cooking. They're literally cooking. Mhm.
Right.
So when you go and you clean that out, you use the glyph. I can honestly say, even after being whatever, I don't resent any of the. No, they left me for no. When I say, oh, they're good luck, that's fine. Yeah, everything, like you said, everything was supposed to happen that does need to happen, because being on my own was a growing experience for me. It's been a growing experience.
And that's the thing. Every experience can be a growth experience, an experience for growth, if you're willing to look at it that way. So, Dr. Jean, we have some questions. Some people with their hands raised. Do you want to see what's coming up for people and answer those questions as we continue?
I want to just answer one before. Is about the abundance. What's blocking our abundance? Okay. The biggest block to abundance is fear.
Yeah.
When you're afraid that you can't pay the mortgage or pay your bills, you put up a block. That doesn't seem fair, because that's when you need it the most. But once you let go of that fear, that can make abundance so much easier. If you see yourself as abundant, you will be. Yes. Okay. Let's take some questions.
And then we'll come back to the other points that we want to share today. All right, Linda, you had a question about, I know you had a question about if the tattoos are reusable when they come off, but I know you have another question as well.
Yes, I do. I have a girlfriend who has asked me to ask this question for her. So I said that I would. She has long-term COVID, and she needs to know which glyphs would be the most beneficial for her to use.
Well,
she can't seem to kick it. She's dealing with two women. She is a caretaker. She deals with two women who've had all the you-know-what, and because that's what their people told them she had to do. Well, she's the one who's picking everything up. She's a great empath and Jack's. Oh, so what would you recommend? I'm going to write down.
Okay, first of all, anyone who's had, you have to go ahead and remove that. And she needs to remove it, even if she hasn't had it. Go ahead and use it anyway, because she may have picked up the spike
she did
from other people. So I think it doesn't hurt to remove that.
Okay.
And
is that the first one? Is that the first one, Dr. Jean? To remove is that the first glyph she should use?
Yeah,
to remove the vaccine one?
I would say so. Yeah, right. And it doesn't matter what order, as long as all get used. But for her, she needs to surround herself with a white light, or a golden white light of protection that will prevent any. And I did this when I was invited to go on an outing with my former daughter-in-law, and they've all been, and so I said that prayer. I surround myself with a golden light that will protect me from any outside energy or forces that are not in harmony with my body. And say that often, so you don't pick up anything from anyone else. I spent the whole day and I hugged them and everything, and I didn't worry about it and had no problem. So I would say that. But for long COVID, of course, a lot depends upon how it's affecting. If it's affecting the lungs, and that's one of the ones that really is typical, I would go ahead and use the lungs, one for the lungs. That's the most common. But look at when it's any time there's an issue, how are they being affected? Is it their lungs? Is it their energy? Is it the muscle? Okay, of the energy. I think then that they need to work on these emotional healing glyphs. Why were they they were in fear when they got this thing, so the people she's taking care of, they need to, and if they're not open to it, then there's a glyph number 5050, which is reaching out, and you do it discreetly. You just put their name on a piece of paper, and then you simply say, with permission from their soul, because the soul has to grant permission. Okay. And what this will do is every night when they're sleeping, it will remove a layer of fear, then it will remove a layer of sadness, it will just go on. That goes on for 8 weeks, and then you can start it over again. And it's interesting, you can see the results in people little by little. They get better there's a lot of people with stuff that, and it's amazing. It is even, I kept thinking my 2 sons would never get their act together. And after repeatedly using this glyph, one of them was reading Conversations with God. And then the other one went to sign up for a meditation class at a Buddhist monastery. And I thought, oh my God, I still can't believe it to this day. So you never know. You just, and I have pages where I work on that. I have my neighbors on that. I have my kids on that. I have whoever I can, if you know somebody who's got an issue, you just put their name. And a lot of people, they're like, they can't stand their ex-husband, or sister-in-law, and and I said, no, what you need to be doing is using that glyph for them. When you resent those people, you're not doing anybody any favors, and you're doing yourself harm. What you want to do is help in their healing.
Okay, so which one was that one that you put all these people on?
Number 50.
Okay, 50.
Called Reaching Out.
Okay, I got that one. Okay, what about the reusable? Are there any reusable tattoos, or are ones
no, the tattoos, once you put them on your skin and then they wear off, no, there's no way, the tattoos can't be reused. No.
Okay.
Right.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Jean. It's such a pleasure. I always look forward to it. You are just one of my favorite people. And thank you, Lara. You guys are great. Thanks for answering.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you.
Don't know why the dogs are barking. All right, Heidi has a question. Heidi, you want to unmute yourself?
Hi there.
Hi.
Hi. We may get a dog barking here as well. Thank you. I actually went to bed with one of your meditations last night, Dr. Jean, so thank you very much for that. What is the block for my energy levels? I mean, Linda talking about long COVID, I had that, unfortunately, and I'm nearly through it, but I still feel there's still an energy level and health healing. I can't seem to break that final barrier.
Have you used the glyph for the lungs? Are you using?
I've not used any of your glyphs, actually. I've not used your glyphs at all.
Yeah, you want the ones for the lungs, and I'm feeling you should use the one for the blood. Yeah, there's one for the blood that I think you should use, and there's also one for energy for the Dantian, and I would use that one as well. Right. But I think you need a lot of the emotional healing glyphs. Yeah.
I've been doing a lot of work on emotional healing.
We don't catch that unless we fear catching it. You see?
Yeah.
So you want to remove that fear, that you have to think, why was this drawn to my body? It's not because I ran into somebody. I don't catch things. I don't ever catch anything. I don't catch colds. I don't catch the flus because I give up believing in that. That's a belief that you can catch things, and you allow your body to do that. You see, okay.
It was a time where I had I'd just separated from my husband of 30 years, and I was living on my own, and I was looking after my mum with dementia and blah 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 blah. So I was quite low anyway. So right. Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Heidi. I think my dogs are quiet now. All right, Patty, you have a question?
Yes, sorry, my camera's not working. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
I just have 2 questions, Dr. Jean. The first one is, I don't want to cut out the glyphs from the book because they're so beautiful. Can I just make a copy on my printer and use those?
Oh, sure. That's how it's made for. One of the first pages, it tells you that. Right. You can go ahead and even if you take it to the printer and a place and they say, well, this is copyrighted. I said, no, I have permission. It says right so in the book. So.
Okay. And then the other question is, do I place the glyph the face of the glyph downside on my body, or can I face it up, or does it make any difference?
It doesn't matter. And one of the times I took a half a page I had candida really bad. So I had the glyph for candida. And so I put a half a page, which is 8 glyphs next to my bedside. And when I woke up in the morning, I put my hands on that glyph. I put it between my hands and I laid my head down. I could feel the energy going up both arms evenly. So it didn't seem to matter that whether I was with the front or the back, but it went right up my arms and right up into my brain. The candida can actually get in your brain. And when I thought, holy cow. And that lasted a while. When it gave me a headache, but when I let go of the paper, the headache went away. But it went up both arms evenly, so it doesn't really matter whether it's the front or back. But I tend, out of habit, I tend to use it to face it toward the front, the picture toward me, but it doesn't matter.
Well, one last question based on what you just said. For an eyesight issue, for clearer eyesight, can I use a page for the eyesight in my hands like you talked about, instead of putting them all over the places on my body like it says to do?
No, you do it like it says to do.
Okay.
We put them, both my husband and I, we put them on our eyes when I first used it. And I had, it was just I tested everything. And I put it on my eye and I felt things being out of, what, and he did too. And he just said, wow. But also it tells you to put it under your arm, but to put it back behind here, that's important. When I took the glyphs and I put it back behind that, where that little depression is, where the skull connects to the neck there, when I put it there, I could feel some energy going up and down on each side of my spine. And then it said to put it under the arms and so forth. And I never did put it on the arms for him. I used it on him. He had glaucoma and cataracts. And the day before he was supposed to have surgery, I was putting them all over. He was such a baby that he never did it for himself. I'd have to do it for him all the time, but that's okay. At least he let me be. He was a good guinea pig, and it worked. He said, just now we're divorced now, but he wrote back about a year ago and he said the glaucoma he was healed and never came back, never needed any medicine. So, but we used them. I did use them under his arm and I did put them on the back of his neck for him, but I didn't do it that often. So I do it all. I mean, you can't do too much. If you're putting it on someplace where you think these are probably acupuncture points, is what I think. Oh, I would do it all and I would put it on like that. You could try putting it between your hands, and that's not a bad idea, because when it seems like when you put it, when you first wake up in the morning, this is what I call all channels are open. And I can feel stuff going on many places in my body. It seems like you're relaxed and you're just wide open to it. So no harm in doing it like that with the eyesight one. Certainly not.
Thank you, Dr. Jean, and thank you for your beautiful gifts.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Patty. So I just want to thank you, Patty. Sorry, I muted myself instead of you. I just want to say really quickly, yes, you can try using the glyphs in different ways, but first use them the way that they are recommended in the book, right? Or
right.
so like,
right.
Because then let's say you don't do it the way it's recommended in the book, and then you're like, oh, well, it didn't work. Well, that's not fair, is it? Because you didn't do it the way it was supposed to be. So yes, after
yeah.
I would do it both ways. Like, do it the way it's recommended in the book, and then if you want to do it with your hand as well, do that too. But always follow the guidance and the instructions, because the instructions and guidance came from source for those specific glyphs, right, Dr. Jean?
That one did. That particular one did. Although there's, I get messages from people. One woman, she got real effective healing from a glyph
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Sarah has a question. Sarah, you want to unmute yourself?
Yes, thank you. Okay, one of my questions was already answered by Lara and the previous caller. You can photocopy them.
Yes.
I bought one book of yours online used, and when it came, it had several cut out, which was sad, but it still copies the same glyphs. Okay, two things. One is, this probably hasn't done any good, but I went through and took a photograph of every glyph that I thought I needed. Just so somehow that's in my phone. I carry it with me all the time. I don't know any from it, but I'll just use it around with me and see what happens. So that's one thing. And I'm just going to go ahead and assume it doesn't really do any good. But
If it's an exact copy, it can. It may. It depends. Yeah, if it's an exact copy. Now, people who say they traced one, that won't work.
No.
But
I photographed them.
photograph is an exact copy, so I don't think that would. I think it should work. I never even thought about it.
But if you're not using it with intention, she just has it on her phone. She's not using the actual glyph with intention.
Yeah, it's always good to have an intention. If you're wondering, well, is this going to work or is this not going to work? Well, maybe it won't then. Maybe, I don't know. I can't say. It just depends. A lot depends upon your energy and your receptivity to it.
Right. So when I took the photo, I had a lot of intention and receptivity. We'll see. The second thing is that I have a very severe injury, learning to walk again, and I'm wondering which glyphs would be good for me to use.
Well, if the injury involves your spine,
no, I was hit by a truck and I had a total hip replacement, and I have a fractured pelvis and knee and ankle pain.
Okay, then you can use, I would use cellular repair, and I would use the one for the bones. But on the other hand, let go of that accident and see yourself as healed.
Oh, I do. I see myself.
Right.
Yeah. I see myself as dancing. And
right. Okay. Right.
I have total amnesia. I hear I was talking at the accident site. I don't remember any of it, and I don't go back over it.
Yeah. I mean, let go of when you say, I have an injury. Okay. All right. I did have. Okay. I did have an injury. Okay. But it's healing. It's, just see it as healing. See it all as your body recreating. Remember, every cell in your body hears every thought you have, everything you think and everything you say. Your cell is listening, your cells. And so there's a fraction of a second when a cell is being replaced, when an old cell dies, a new one. And the body is saying, are we going, are we repairing? Are we going forward? Are we staying the same? Or are we going back? Are we staying with this injury? Are we repairing ourselves? So you're telling your body, even after when I eat and I say my prayer, I always end it with, body, take this and create whatever we need for the body. And so just see your body and talk to your body and say, okay, we're building back, we're building back better, we're building back perfect. Okay. I'm going to be a perfect blueprint of what I was. Okay.
Thank you so much. That's lovely. I do bless my food. I will add that in. Okay. Sometimes I'm at the farmer's market, and if I'm with one of my kids or something, I'll pick up a bell pepper and say to the bell pepper, do you want to be part of my body?
Well, now there's a way we can use that as a pendulum. where I'll pick up, there was a sale at Eagles on a cantaloupe, and I picked it up. And if you feel yourself leaning forward, you have to stay in your mind at neutral. If you feel yourself leaning forward, that's a yes. If you feel yourself tipping back, that's a no. So I picked up this, I believe was a good looking cantaloupe, and it just felt like there's times when will almost fall over because it wants me to get that.
Nice. Yeah, I use body dowsing, but I'll
Right.
use it at the market because something you pay, you cut it on its own.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Lara. Key has a question.
Hi, hello, Lara and Dr.
Hi.
Jean, everybody. I
Hello.
have a question. So I have a son that's been experiencing some mental health conditions, PTSD, OCD, and paranoia. Can any of these glyphs help with that? He's been experiencing this probably going on 4 years now, and he just doesn't trust many people, and he's constantly washing his hands, afraid of catching germs.
Oh, OCD.
He's an adult and he's not willing. He doesn't think he has a problem. I want to get him help, but he's not willing to go in to get help for it. How can we use a glyph to help with any of these conditions?
That glyph number 50 I was mentioning before, I would go ahead and use that one for him. And if there's any particular thing you want to add with that, that's fine. But that I've seen that my son's girlfriend is washing her hands. You think you take the skin off of it, and I totally relate to that. Yeah, I would just go on with that. That's fear. That's fear. So I would do that glyph number 50, reaching out. And keep on. It's going to take, after it's 6-8 weeks, then go ahead and talk to the glyphs. The glyphs are your team. Talk to them like these are your team members and say, let's do this again. Let's, and thank them. Just like if you ever, you talk to your crystals or you thank your crystal, thank the glyphs. Yeah.
You have to be willing to receive the help in order for it to work.
Oh, no, what you do, you don't, you just say when you're setting it up, you say, if his soul is in agreement. That's if the soul is in agreement. Rarely will the soul not be in agreement. I've only had one occasion, that was my nephew, who was retarded, and I was told he came that way on purpose and he does not want any help. So just make that statement. Just as a encouragement, if soul is not in agreement, it's not going to work anyway. But I can't see any reason why it wouldn't. No, sometimes maybe they have to experience this for a certain period of time. But just if you just say that, if the soul is in agreement.
Okay, and fear of people, coming into contact with people and strangers, can it help on that level as well?
Right. Yes. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Sure. Do you see this working for me if I'm to try this? Do you actually see it working for me?
Do I see it working for you?
I mean, do you sense that it could work for me or it will work for me if I go forward with trying to proceed with this package?
Well, I'm quite sure you've got nothing to lose here and everything to gain. Yeah, I mean, the whole idea is you see it working for you.
And Cindy, I would use it on yourself as well. Not that one, but
right.
A different one uses. Yeah.
Yeah, you need to use that on yourself, and you could to feel more positive about the whole thing. Yeah, you need to do some healing on yourself, like I was said earlier. When we heal ourselves, we help heal our children and even our ancestors. Right. Yeah. And sometimes right. Absolutely.
Okay, good enough. Thank you so much for that information. This is very interesting, and I'm quite sure I have more confidence. I think this would work for me as well as my son.
I know it will work for me is what you want to say. I know it will work for me.
I know it will work. And yeah, when I tell people, when you're working with this, is not, I wonder if it'll work. Because as soon as you say that, you cut that energy in half. Yeah. And I had one young man, and a lot of these are all spiritual people who are really involved spiritually. and he was getting a hit on the one for the male reproductive system. And I said, well, then use it. And he said, well, he had to, as a child, he had one testicle removed for some reason. And I said, well, then go ahead and use it. That's why you're getting a hit on that one. And he said, well, I'll try it and see if it works. And I said, like, Kuan Yin or whatever his name was, King, whatever. I said, wait a minute, you listen to me. It's not try it, it's do it and see yourself as doing it, because you have the power of God. If you have the power of God, then you are able to heal yourself of anything. So believe in what you do. And he said, oh, thank you for reminding me. Thank you. So, because sometimes we need that reminding. We know we're all divine, we all have the power, but sometimes we need a big reminder.
Well, thank you so much for that
Absolutely.
information and the reminder. I can see that happening now in my mind. I can see it working. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Cindy.
You're welcome.
Awesome.
Many blessings to both of you and everyone on this call.
Thank you, Cindy. You too.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. I did that again. I always mute myself. All right, it's all good. It's all good. It's one of these wonderful questions. So talked about is about where is tribe? People are still looking for tribe, for their unity, looking for their family. What is keeping them from that?
I was actually the same way. I mean, and I've been working with this for years, and I thought, why am I just here by myself, and why is nobody coming into my life? And then all of a sudden they were, people would started coming in, and I really felt I didn't really have many friends. Maybe I didn't make the effort, or because those of us we're different than other people. And so it's hard sometimes when we're young to have friends. And so then all of a sudden within the last few years, people have come into my life. They came on their own. So you don't have to go hunting for them. They'll come in. It's just, as you remove the layers of what's holding you back and you open yourself up to, if you don't know why you're here, then you can't attract anybody here to work with you. Mm-hmm. So, right. So as you become understanding about, this is what I'm supposed to be doing in life, then you'll find other people who are interested in doing the same thing, or I have this land up there where we're going to have would like to see a 58 acres of land where I'd like to see a center for children. And so I have finally met people who all have the same idea, are interested in that. But it took a long time. It did take time, but just believe it's going to happen. But you have to get rid of what's holding you back first.
Yeah. And that's the thing. When you start to work on the emotional wounds, fears, emotional triggers, all of that stuff, when you start to work with that and release some of that, then you will start to have more ease in your life and more flow and start to move forward, right? And then you can have it all. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right? But we do have to start to work on the emotional pieces first.
Right. And then as you work with that and you feel more secure emotionally, then you have the ability to manifest quite quickly. I think, well, gee, I haven't had any sales lately. I think I need to get a whole bunch of sales of ebooks. All of a sudden they're all coming in, and I think, oh, this is nice. You have to just see it and you believe it, and just realize that we're floating down the river. We don't paddle back upstream. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. I love
that. We did that years ago and we found it didn't work.
Exactly. We don't have to continue doing that.
It didn't.
All right. So Dr. Jean, I wanted to talk about the packages. I'm going to share my screen and then we'll talk about the packages. So one second. Here we go. So Dr. Jean has two packages that she's sharing with us. Package A is all of the ebooks for $99 and there's a payment plan available. And then package B is the books plus the programming statements plus a 1-hour personal session with Dr. Jean for $199. If you're an Inner Circle member, free or VIP, please use your gift code. So Cindy, I know you're VIP, so please use your gift code. And so the special offer is pretty self-explanatory. It's the 4 powerful healing manuals, right? Plus the Sacred Symbol of Mu ebook. So Dr. Jean, what do you want to share about these? If anything, we've been talking about them mostly.
Well, after I worked on the second one, the third one, I just kept coming into, I would get more. I created this one to cover every area of the body, every gland and organ and kidney stones. And then the next one, there's still stuff was coming into me. And this one has the glyphs, and this is why it's important. And something really, it just, I was encouraged to get this third one out, because this one is, the one for the dawn is the one that heals the damaged brain. And that one is so important. And I tell everybody, well, if you get a copy of the books, first of all, you put a glyph to detox yourself on the top of your crown chakra, because no matter what your situation, because you want to get all the heavy metals, the aluminum and the mercury and the Roundup and out of your brain, and that will do it. That will do it, and like nothing else can do it. It will really make a difference. And there's a glyph in the second book for the back for circulation, and the one for the heart that will clear the plaque out of the arteries. So those are really important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there's lots of issues that all of these books will work with, and there's so much. And then, of course, the Sacred Symbol of Mu is also an ebook that we are sharing here with you. And so then again, like I said, Dr. Jean's package A is $99, and there's a 2 and 3 part payment plan available. And of course, the gift code, you can use that. And so then, in package B, you get all the manuals plus the programming statements. And I just want to talk a little bit more about the programming statements and the personal session with you, Dr. Jean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the programming statements, that each glyph, when we create it, I will be given a programming statement that would be told, tell the glyph to say this. In the programming statement, you're telling the glyph what it should do. And that goes into every one of the, every glyph has it, but they're not in the book, because sometimes they may be 2 pages long. Mm-hmm. So it's about 20 pages, that package of the programming statements. And then the consultation can be divided, it's an hour, but it can be divided into 2 30-minute sessions.
So you definitely want to take advantage of the personal session with Dr. Jean after you've started working with the glyphs. Right. So start working with the glyphs, and then meet with Dr. Jean to get more clarification, or
I encourage them to work with it first. Because and it can go any way that you want it to do. If you want to talk about nutrition or just which one is, whatever your situation is.
Yeah, exactly. So again, those 2 packages are available from Dr. Jean, package A and B, and there are 2 and 3 part payment plans available for both, as well as the free and VIP Inner Circle gift codes. Please do take advantage of those. All right, there's some questions. Some more questions came in the chat. 1 second here. Linda, is there a glyph to use to place on your food to remove the GMO programs and ingredients? And bad ingredients, I guess.
You can take a page of the detox glyph, and you could even make it, laminate it and use it like a placemat and put it under your plate. But I have also a way to detox and help the glyphs, not the glyphs, the toxins, is to get yourself some green and yellow and blue cellophane. And it's not expensive. You can get it on the internet. And you put the I cut a piece out about the size of a big gallon-sized baggie, and you put that in there with the blue on top. And that blue, that color, that turquoise color, can literally transmute toxic things from the and this has been tested out. I would have to look up the name of the woman who, and it was told to me by a holistic vet out in California. And I've tested it myself. One time I had some shrimp, which really aren't the best for us. And I got a no that the shrimp were not good. I put them on that blue-green paper. And after a while, I got that it was okay. So a few hours on that blue-green paper is one way. But with GMO, do your best to avoid the GMO, but then say your prayer and put on the one for detox. And I would also, it wouldn't hurt, there's a glyph for to remove nanotechnology. When we did the first book, we never even heard of this. Now it's a really serious threat. Nanotechnology is an insidious thing that's in so much food, especially processed food. And so avoid processed food as best you can. And sometimes you can't avoid it. You go to somebody's house, but you just, sometimes you can even use a glyph just with your mind and say even, I intend to remove any nanotechnology from this book. Remember, you have the power with your thought to remove toxic matter. And that's part of my, what I say when I say prayers. I say, I intend divine light, guidance, and protection, and I remove anything toxic matter from this food. And you have that power. You can test it before and after. If you believe in that power, it'll work.
Awesome. Thank you. Great question, Linda. Thank you. Sarah says, I notice Hebrew in a lot of the glyphs. Why is that there?
Somebody sent me these things in Hebrew, and I just felt like it was not an accident in coming to me. And so all of them are the Hebrew name of God, except the one for focus, and that's the Hebrew name for focus.
Awesome. Thank you. And Cindy said, is there a glyph to remove negative energies or entities from a house?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Yes, there sure is. Right. And if a person has an entity, it walks you through a procedure that you go through. Absolutely. There was one story of a woman who her cat started urinating on her bedspread. And someone took a picture of the room, and there were dark shadows in there. And so they took that glyph and put it in all four corners of the room and in the center of the room. And after 2 or 3 days, within a day or two, the cat's behavior changed. It was for the better. And another picture had shown the dark shadows were gone.
Cool. So there you go, Cindy. Great question too. There's so many different glyphs, right? So we,
we got over 130, right?
You remember all of them. I don't always remember all of them. So it's like, it's a good thing you asked the question. So just ask and you'll know. Yes, there is. You usually, the answer is yes.
Yeah, sometimes the questions bring out interesting things, right? Oh, and there's something I didn't mention. You can take the glyphs and turn them into a, similar to a homeopathic. I had a problem with hay fever. And so I thought, well, there's a glyph for allergies, and I would put it on my solar plexus, but you get tired of taping the same glyph on all the time. So I thought, well, I wonder if it will work if I taped it to a bottle. And so I tried it, and I had a little dropper bottle, and it worked. It really worked great. And it's also programmed to be like an immune, would immunize the person against whatever's bothering them. And now I'm here with the windows open, and pollen is blowing everywhere right now, this time of year. And not a problem. So I have a bunch of them. I got one for my lungs because the chemtrails, there's garbage and if you have that in other countries too, you're having a problem with chemtrails. And one for the bladder control, for one for candida. And I felt like I had one for the vertebrae, and I felt that one was really working too, and one for the heart. And I feel very comfortable that one for the heart is working. So if you have some issue that you want to keep working on, because a lot of things, it takes time, especially if you have a person who's had some issue for years, then you want to work on it and remove that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Yeah,
I just put,
good idea.
yeah, and when I make these, I add a little bit, you can add some, this is a spray bottle, and so I put a little bit of whiskey or whatever in there as a preservative. On a spray, you don't need so much, but a dropper bottle, you definitely need a preservative, either a vegetable glycerin or a little alcoholic, vodka or something.
Yeah, not a lot, just a little bit. Yeah.
Right. No, right. Definitely.
Patty, you have a question for Dr. Jean?
Yes, is in those bottles, is it purified water?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, right. You could boil it, or if you whatever, yeah, you definitely want. It doesn't have to be distilled. As long as it's purified in some way, it's that it's not tap water from the city.
Yeah. Good. Thank you. All right. Anything else that you wanted to share with us, Dr. Jean?
And also Glyph to purify the water too, and that would that's really, I use that all the time. And I have a pond that I was getting ready to go. After he got the book, he sent me a gift of 6 coasters where he put this Glyph on to purify the waters. 3 were out of plastic and the one was done on a stone. And I was getting ready to go on vacation, and I walked down to the pond, and it was really foul looking, and there were dead salamanders laying there and algae growing. And I thought, oh my God, I'm leaving tomorrow. What am I going to do? So I put this stone coaster with a picture of the water purification Glyph. And when I got back 2 weeks later, the water was clear. It was beautiful. So that was just amazing. And it will also remove, what do you call it, from the, in Japan when they had that leak from that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say radiation, but.
Yeah, whatever, right. Whatever we're talking about there with the, what's coming out of these old, it's like Chernobyl and the one in Japan, all that. Yeah, it will take that out of the water as well.
Yeah, so we can use that for our bodies of water near us as well, right? So we can purify some of the lakes and rivers near us.
And this one Glyph affected the whole, and the pond is always draining into the creek, so it's going out and doing more and more. Clearing more and more.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Good job. And so you can also use it like for our own water system, like our well, or where the water comes out of our taps. We could always use it there as well, right?
Right. We have a well, and then we have something, a pressure tank. And you could put, if you have a situation like that, you could put them on the pressure tank where it holds and is being used after it comes out of the well. Right.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you.
Or put it on your drinking glass too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I have a good big 2-gallon crock in my kitchen, and I have it under there, and I have some crystals in the crock too. So I put it underneath there.
Perfect. All right. Anybody else have any other questions for Dr. Jean, or is there anything else that we need to share, Dr. Jean, about the Glyphs or about the books or about anything else? I think Just trying to see if there's anything else that we missed. I don't think so. Okay, what about dog
Right.
hair? Is there any way to get rid of dog hair? I have 2 dogs and there's always dog hair.
Oh, yeah, well, I think cats are even worse, yeah. But,
Yeah.
so, yeah, and I was just gonna say something and then I forgot what it was.
Oh dear.
Oh, well, that's all right, but, almost this will you just name it, then there's a regeneration glyph. You know, we've got to understand that we've been lied to. We've been programmed to believe that we can get sick and we get old and we start falling apart. And then, and that is a bunch of bull. And we need to let go of that. I wish somebody told me that 40 years ago or 50 years ago, because we've been programmed to believe we go through menopause and we get older, we get gray hair, and all these and I was told that a drop of iodine in my water would keep the hair from, and considering, and I have gray hair here, but I'm doing pretty well with the others. I'm going to hang on to what I got here. But just let go of that idea of aging. Let go of that date. That date is only important on your driver's license, or if you're getting Social Security or something. Don't bother telling people your age, because you don't want to believe it. Your mind doesn't care how old you are. It really doesn't. We are the ones who make ourselves old. We literally are the ones who age ourselves. So let go of that. See yourself as young, and you will be. Remember, you create that reality, and you create your body too. After you just see yourself as young.
Yes. See yourself as young, believe yourself as being young, right? I forget how old I am, so it's like, I always have to remind myself, like, how old am I? It's like, I'm not sure. Yeah. Right. So it's like, how young do you feel? Right.
Right.
So laugh, joke, have fun.
And treat yourself young. Get plenty of exercise and eat right, and try to keep your weight according to your height and everything. Eat a lot of fresh fruits. Eat food that comes from the earth. Yeah. Eat food that comes from the earth, and get plenty of exercise.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Wise words from a wise lady, for sure. So thank you. And thank you everybody for all your questions, your comments, your feedback in the chat. Thank you. And if you have any questions or if you have feedback afterwards, please let us know how you're doing with the glyphs, how you tried them, what you did with them. Right, how you use them. Just let us know so that we can, share that later on as well, right?
I know. I'd love to hear. Yeah, I'd love to hear the stories, and send a picture too. I would love to hear your pets when you're working on your pet. Whatever, we love pictures too. It really helps bring in the message.
And if you haven't bought the books yet, there's package A and package B, and package A now is less expensive than it used to be. So we want to make sure that more and more people are having access to these
Source said
glyphs.
He wants people to have the books as free as easy as possible, because we're getting closer to ascension, and we want to get rid of all this baggage that we're in our physical problems as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So please do take advantage of this time, of these packages, of these glyphs, and either get package A or get package B and work with the glyphs even more in-depthly, and as well work with Dr. Jean in the personal session 1-to-1. Okay, so definitely take advantage of both of them. There are 2- and 3-part payment plans available for both. And if you are a free or VIP Inner Circle member, please use your gift code as well. Right. So taking advantage of all these beautiful resources. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Dr. Jean. Thank you so much, everyone. It's always so wonderful to speak with you, Dr. Jean.
Thank you, everyone. I appreciate your being here. Much love to all of you out there.
Thank you so much, everyone. Until next time, may you continue to be blessed with an abundance of joy, peace, love, happiness, prosperity, and radiant health. Sending you all much love and blessings always. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.